y'all. Welcome or welcome back. Today, we've got our April wrap up. Was this supposed to be a vlog? Yes. But did all of my vlog clips get corrupted? Also, yes. So now it's a wrap up, which also works out because I actually don't remember all of the books that I talked about in that vlog. But that's fine. We're just going to talk about what I read, what I liked, what I didn't like. You know how wrap ups work. In April, I was finishing up a couple of things. I was in the middle of Before the Coffee Gets Cold. And so there's only 4 stories in this short story collection. And I got to the third one. And yeah, Before the Coffee Gets Cold is about a coffee shop where if you go there, you can revisit a loved one as long as you have been to that coffee shop before they had died. The thing is, you can only visit with them for the amount of time where your coffee is warm, so before the coffee gets cold. Otherwise, there are dire consequences that I'm sure that you would not want. People also don't have to have had died. They just, you just may want to have conversations with someone. So the first one is about a woman who wants to go back into time and have a conversation with her boyfriend who has left for America. And before he left for America, he broke up with her. And she just wants to go back and get some closure on their relationship. And then the second one is about a man or a woman, I think, who visits her husband or wants to have a conversation with her husband who um, has present day Alzheimer's. And then the third one that I read was about a girl visiting her sister. And so, like I said, I read the first 3. I don't know what the fourth one is about, so I can't tell you. But my interest in the book declined the more I went into the story. The first one I thought was really great. I really enjoyed it. The second one was like, oh, okay, cool. And then the third one, I was just like, all right. I think part of that reason was because in each story, we keep getting told the rules over and over. And it's like, I get it. I understand how this works. I would rather hear about the reasons why people are going back and not necessarily like what's happening in the shop at present day. Like, let's go back. Let's have the conversations with the people, or at least let's find out why people want to go back. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to spend my time reading these rules. Also, another issue I had with it was that it read more like a screenplay, like what was happening there, what patrons were doing in the coffee shop, and like the settings and everything. And it was just like, this is not more of a story. This is more of a screenplay. And so after the third one, I was just like, I don't think I really need to read the fourth one. At this point, I was like, this is a solid 3. It's not bad. It's just very average for me. And so I didn't feel like I needed to read the fourth book. So I headed on out. I'm counting it as read. I'm counting it as read. It's a read book for me. It was also another book off of my own TBR. So yay for me. 3 stars. And then March, I was buddy reading The Final Strife with Ray. I got to maybe 25% and I said, I don't think that this is for me, which made me sad because I really wanted to like it. Jashana hyped it up so much. She loved it. Ray really liked it. I think she ended up liking the second one too. Yeah, I read the first one and I just like, and I'm not a fan. It's about a place where there are 3 factions of people: red bloods, blue bloods, and clear bloods. Clear bloods are like servants, and the blue bloods are also servants, and red bloods kind of like reign supreme. Although not all of the red bloods reign, because some of them also become like servanty people or work. I guess they just become regular average folk. So you have Scylla, who we're following. She's a drug addict. She's high all the time because she's lost her father and like some of her siblings, and she is actually not who people think she is. She was stolen. She was actually a red-blooded child, and she was stolen to help bring about this change so that she would have the blood of a red and but the heart of a blue blood or something. Embers. I don't remember what they're called at this point. She thinks that her long lost brother, love interest, friend is back, And she realizes he's back and she's like, you know what? I need to get my shit together. I need to fulfill my purpose. And so she tries to go and she runs into this girl who is actually the person that she was switched at birth with, the actual blue-blooded child that she was switched at birth with. They become people that benefit in this mutual relationship. I didn't care. And I thought that the girl that she traded places with, Honor, she was super fucking annoying. And then I thought maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just not getting it by reading it. So I was like, I'm gonna wait for the audiobook. And Ray graciously was like, I'll buy it for you. And I was like, don't waste your money on that. So glad that she didn't. I waited for it to come in from my library. It did. I read it, and then I got to about 50, 60%, and I realized I didn't care. And so yeah, that was that. I put that thing down. I had Ray tell me what happens in the end, and then I had her tell me what happens in the second book, and I'm good on that. Fully into April, I decided that I was going to continue on in a lot of series that I was reading or I have been reading. So everything here is going to be part of a series in some way. I don't know how much I can say because some things will be spoilery, obviously, because they are not the first of something. I'll try to give you the foundations and maybe I'll sprinkle a little bit more without giving too much away, but we'll see. So the first thing I read was The Heart Principle by Han Huang. That was a buddy read with Ray. We're like doing a buddy read every single month. It's the third book in the Love Quotient series. Anna, she's a violinist, but for some reason she's got like this player's block. Is that a thing? Is that a thing that musicians go through? And she also just broke up with her boyfriend who, or did, they didn't really break up. He wants an open relationship so that he can go test other things. And Anna's just like a very yes person because she realizes that if she just says yes to what people want or suggest, then they will probably like her better. She feels like she's very awkward in situations. And then there is Quan, who has just had, I think he had cancer. And so he is just trying to get back out into the dating game. So he's like, I'm going to do this casually, not get into any kind of entanglements. And Anna and Quan just go on this adventure of exploring each other. Anna's like, well, if my boyfriend can have an open relationship, then I can also have an open relationship. And that's how she ends up with Quan. They're just trying to keep things casual, and then it does not. There are some heavier topics in here: death of loved ones, caring for ailing parents, also Quan's cancer. I mean, it didn't take away from the romance in the book. It just dealt with a heavier topic. I really enjoyed it. I think that this was this my favorite of it's between this and the Love Quotient. The one in the middle, I don't even remember what it's called, but that's going to be a no for me. I cannot stand that book. But this one and then Love Quotient I really enjoyed. And so I don't know if there will be more in this series, in this world, but I really, really enjoyed it. In the way of more romance, I also picked up The Hookup Plan by Farah Rashan. This is also the third and the last in the Boyfriend Project series. This one we're following Taylor, London. We're following London. She is the doctor of this friend group that met each other because they were all dating the same guy. There was Taylor, London, and Samira, Samaya, something like that. Anyway, London is a doctor, but she just has no time for love and romance, hobbies, anything because she's so focused on, doctoring. And she actually is planning her high school reunion where she goes and she runs into her high school rival. What's his name? Derek, Drew. Drew. She runs into Drew and she's like, you know what? I need some no strings attached booty call type stuff. And she's like, I'm going to hook up with Drew because I know he doesn't live here. I know that it's going to mean nothing and I don't have to see him again. And so they hook up, but little does she know that Drew is actually assigned to her hospital to do an audit on whether they should privatize the hospital or not. And they have this great night together, and London is just so grateful for the release. And then she goes to work where she sees Drew, and they decide to kind of work together to do this assessment. And I just like seeing them kind of banter with each other, fall in love with each other, even though I'm starting to think that people don't actually know what rivals to lovers is, because usually it's a one sided. And it's like one person was a rival and the other person had no idea that there was a competition happening. There was no animosity on the other side, just one sided. But I like that they talk about why things were the way they were in the past. The only thing that I did not like was I felt that Drew was trying to throw money at any type of problem. It was just like, oh, London is sad. Maybe if I buy her this thing at the hospital, she'll feel better. And it's like, maybe. But also, there may be some deeper issues besides just buying up things and not being able to afford things. And it was kind of just getting on my nerves a little bit. But I think I still ended up giving this like 4 stars. I had a really good time. I will definitely be reading more by Farrah Rashan because I really enjoyed the Boyfriend Project series altogether. London is probably my favorite of the friends. And then, dang, what was the first boyfriend's name in this series? I don't remember his name, but he was definitely Daniel, David, something. He was definitely my favorite of the love interest in this, but altogether, it was just great, fantastic. It was a great end, and I finished a series, 2 series actually, The Heart Principle and this one. I read Saga Volume 6, and that is a space opera where we're following these 2 people from warring planets. They actually come together and fall in love and have a child that should not exist. And so these 2 planets are trying to off the 2 people that have fallen in love and their offspring. I think that the family's kind of been separated right now as they're trying to get a hold of their daughter. So many things happen, and you start to like really like characters, not because they're necessarily good people or creatures, but because you just think that they're funny or whatever. And then they're taken from you. I'm still upset. There are people that are hallucinating on drugs. And I think that it's hilarious and sad all at the same time. And I really am worried about them and their future. I want the main family to get together. I feel like every time they come back together, something just takes them apart. And I'm just like, no. But I'm still having a good time with it. I cannot wait to like get to the next volume. Got 4.25 stars. That was that. And then I picked up volume 2, A Spy Family. Also a very good time. It is about a make-believe family. It is about a spy, a telepath, and an assassin. They don't all know that they're these things. Um, the spy marries the assassin. She thinks that she's just a part of this family to help the spy and his little girl get into school, but the little girl is not actually the spy's biological daughter. He got her from an orphanage so that he could use her and this whole entire family as a ruse to get into this school and for one of his assignments. And then just fun and chaos and hilarity ensues from all of this. I'm having such a good time. I love the daughter, and she must be protected at all costs, always. And I think everybody just kind of feels this way about her. It actually makes me laugh out loud. That is saying a lot. Long time ago, maybe in December, I had started volume 7 of Death Note, and then I just soft DNF'd it because I just wasn't in the mood for it. But I finally picked it up and I was like, I'm going to finish it. So I finished volume 7 and volumes 8 of Death Note. And volume 7 was okay, but boy did it end in a way that made me want to immediately pick up 8, which I did. And I had such a good time. I think that this is where I'm starting to deviate in the series from what I remember from the show. Or maybe these things did occur in the show and I just flat out forgot. But either way, we're continuing the cat and mouse between Light and Elle, trying to figure out who this mysterious Kira is. And Kira is a person who has come on the scene and he is mysteriously killing people, mostly criminals and like bad guys. But like the question is, who deserves to say who's allowed to live and who's not? Who's a good person and who's not? And so they're really playing like this big morality game between the two. And characters are starting to shift. Light is around still playing with everyone's emotions. And sometimes I just want to be like, bro, you are so annoying. You think you're so smart, and I hope that you get caught. And I feel like he is, but there's always a possibility that he is not going to get caught, and he will get away with doing what he's doing. He is Kira. He's the first person that found this death note and understood what it was for. And the death note comes to the Shinigami. It's like a little otherworldly creature that is attached to the death note. It's just a good time. I am having a great time with it. I have 5 more volumes left in the series. 5? I think so, yeah. And then I'll be done. I'm torn between wanting to read it really fast so that I can get to the end and see how this goes, or taking my time with it so that it's not over. Then I read Animal 2, The Omen by Kwan. This is a street lit book. I read Animal in I read Animal in March on a whim, was not planning to pick it up. And then Ashley over at Bookish Realm was talking about it one time, and it sounded so interesting. I needed to pick it up, and I was glad I did. I was also glad that I picked up Omen. I had a good time. Not as good of a time as I did with Animal, but still a good time nonetheless. We're following Animal, who is trying to get revenge on all of the people who had any type of association with getting his girl Gucci shot. Gucci is laid up in a hospital, and Animal vows to get revenge. And he does. And in the second book, we are following him as he continues to get more revenge. And then all of the characters that showed up in the first book, we follow them a little bit more, get to know them a little bit better, their motives and their reasonings for choosing whichever side they chose. I will say my only criticism, which is still the criticism for the first book, is that there are too many players in this game, and you start to lose track of who is affiliated with who and who is loyal to who and why, because loyalties do change at some point for some people. And that can be kind of hard to keep track of. And especially when my main interest is in Animal and his main storyline, and not so much the other storylines that are going on. Like, I could take or leave them. The way that it ended did not make me compelled to go ahead and quickly pick up the third book. I don't know how more of an interest I will have in this series. I have a little bit of curiosity, but I don't know that I don't need to pounce on it right away. It may be a couple of months, it might be a couple of years before I get back into this. But just know that I had a good time. I think I also gave this 4.25, 4, something like that. And then my last book that I picked up as part of a continuation of series was Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. This is the second in the Farseer trilogy. I had not read the first book, Assassin's Apprentice. I read that like 2 years ago. Two. And I just forgot everything that pretty much happened in it. Like, there were some main things that I remember. The main character, I remember him being a bastard, remember. But like overall, could not remember a lot of things. So when I got here and we were continuing this story, I was just like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna just make shit up. Exactly like how I did when I read Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas. I hadn't read the book prior to that in over 2 years, and so I just made it up. And that was helpful. Also, I did ask Steph over at Stephanie Bookish about some things, but for the most part, I just made whatever it was up. And I think it made it better, to be honest. But again, we're still continuing following Fitz in his life, who is miserable. Miserable. Like, I don't know a more pitiful character than Fitz. Like, in the whole world of literary characters, there's none more pitiful than Fitz. There might be another, but for right now, it's Fitz. Everything is woe is me. And I mean, to be fair, Fitz has a shitty life. Things keep happening to him, and I just want to say, Robin, not me, the other Robin, Hobb. Robin, please let Fitz breathe. But it's not so much that I hate Fitz being miserable or I have no compassion for him. It is more that like you are reading this and it is basically like a daily diary of Fitz miserableness. And I was really just reading this for everyone but Fitz. I was enjoying the little side stories. It's so interesting where an animal that I was interested in animal and animal story and not so much the other people. And this one, I don't care about Fitz, but everyone else, total interest. You've got his uncle Regal who is plotting things, and I want to see how that's going to turn out. You've got Prince Verity, Fitz's other uncle, who is just trying to keep the kingdom together while they keep being attacked by the Red Ship Raiders, who I don't know why they are being attacked, and I wonder if eventually I will find out. But you've also got the king who's being mysterious. He's not always seen a lot. He stays in his room. What's happening in there? I know it smells crazy in there. And then the fool, he's just funny. He's always speaking in riddles and tongues, but you know that there's a hidden message in there that's really important. And then when he does speak plainly, it's like, oh, he read you for filth, and I love it. And then you also have Molly, a love interest, which I'm starting to think that Robin does not like Molly because you have all of these names like Lady Patience, Fitz Chivalry, um, Prince Regal, and Prince Verity. And then you have Molly. Like, I don't know. I just feel like Molly is not getting the same type of love from Robin Hobb as the other characters. And I'm interested to see if that somehow plays a role in anything, in any of the plots. But yeah, so I'm interested in what's happening. I will say that it took me a very, very long time to get interested because, like I said, it was just day after day of Fitz miserableness. I think I ended up giving this like 3.75, which the first book I gave 3. And so it gives me hope for the fourth book. And then the last book that I read in April that was not a sequel or anything, I had an arc of Warrior Girl on Earth by Angeline Boulley. She is the author of Firekeeper's Daughter, which I loved last year. This takes place in the same community as Firekeeper's Daughter did, but it is about 10 years into the future, and we're following Perry Firekeeper Birch, and I think she's the cousin or niece to Donis in the first book, but there's really no connection between the first book and the second one, so you can totally read this without having read Firekeeper's Daughter. But this one we're following Perry. She's a high school student. She's super badass. I don't give a fuck. I do what I want type attitude. Authority can kiss my ass, which is cool, whatever. But like it kind of got annoying. And I will say I was actually very disappointed with this. I was so excited to read it because I love Firekeeper's Daughter so much. But this one just fell flat. None of the characters fully like popped off the page. I could not have cared less about any of them. Yeah, it just was not a good time. We're following Perry, and she's just like plans to spend her summer just living her life and doing what she wants. And then she gets into this accident, and her aunt Donis is like, nope, you have to pay me back for all of your car repairs, and you will be doing this by being an intern for the tribe. And so she starts working for the tribe. She works for this anthropologist, somebody someone that works at the museum, and they are trying to work on getting remains and artifacts back from the local college that is near them. Battery died. Anyway, we're back. Honestly, the writing felt clunkier than it did in Firekeeper's Daughter. The characters were very flat. Nobody really stood out. The conflicts between a lot of the characters didn't really make sense. There was a heist in the middle of this that just absolutely made no sense at all. And I just thought, adults would never. And the fact that it was like a combination of adults and kids doing this together, I just thought, doesn't even make sense. Then on top of this, Perry is very interested in trying to retrieve the bones of this girl who's known as Warrior Girl, and she's like, I need to have her because I know that she deserves to be back with her people, with her family, with her ancestors. And so she is focused on getting this by any means necessary, while her internship mentor dude is like, no, there's a process and we need to do this so that we can bring all of our people back and not just one person, based on like some kind of whim. But Perry just keeps, she doesn't care, and I understand it, the impulsivity of being a teenager at times, but I just want to be like, girl, pause, stop, let's think about this for a second. And then you have her twin sister, and it just felt so weird. She's like, they talk about how they have like this deep bond, and I was like, do you have a deep bond with your sister? Because I don't believe it. Nothing I've read so far tells me that. I haven't seen it, girl. Then on top of this whole wanting to take back the remains and the artifacts, you have this other side plot about Indigenous women being kidnapped or going missing, and she's upset about that too, as she should be. But it's just like we're focusing on a lot of things, and then a lot of things try to converge at the end, and I'm just like, it didn't do a good job trying to connect these two things. And in fact, one thing just ends on like not even a cliffhanger. It just seems so unresolved for me that I was just like, we're not going to circle back. And now as I'm thinking about it, I just remembered in the middle of the book, something so insane happens and we just never circle back. It like happens and we're just like, "Oh, that was weird." And we don't go back to it. What? I ended up finishing this. I think maybe I read the wrong book, because I'm looking at all these other reviews and they're like 4 stars, 5 stars, the best book ever. And I'm just like, this is not the same Angeline Woolley that I read from the first time. I think it's a 1 star for me, 1.5, maybe the half for a little bit of intrigue in the beginning. Anyway, that is my April. I had a really great reading month. I was settled into my place, and so I was like, I was in the groove. Have you guys read any of these? Did you enjoy them? Did you not? What was your favorite thing that you read in April? I want to know, because I love knowing what your favorites are. Or what was the worst thing that you read and you just want to rant about? Let's talk about it. I'm here. I'm here with a listening ear. And so, with that being said, until next time, bye.